This is Gemara in Kesubos, Daf Yomi, and I begin with a bit of an apology on the lateness of today's shiur. Mirz Hashem, going forth, that we should be back to our regular schedule, and all those who have been awaiting the Mishnah Berurah shiurim as well, you will see that Baruch Hashem, we're slowly getting back into it. We hope to be caught up within the next few days. So says the Gemara in the top of Memtes Aleph, continuing the discussion that we began yesterday, which is when a woman, a kala, is being sent from her father's household to her husband's household, at what point she's considered in the husband's household for many dinim. We learned yesterday with regarding to the fact that the husband has to support her, etc. We learned that once she's delivered from her father's house to her husband's house, she's considered a married woman, as we'll discuss again today with regarding to the fact that if she is mizaneh, she gets the punishment of a married woman. But today we begin in the top of Memtes Aleph, in which the Gemara says, Ve'ima, and let us say, Heicha, Ve'ima, Heicha da'hadja l'bein nasha, maybe if she goes back to her father's household, maybe even though she has already been delivered to the husband, maybe she should go back to being in the father's possession. As the top Rashi points out, like I just highlighted, Mi havai kemi shelo nimsra. Is it considered as if she's not given over from that which we learned yesterday? It sounds like once she's given to the husband, 100% by the husband. But after know that maybe if she goes back home, she reverts back to being part of the father's household. So explains the Gemara, Reishmael already explained the Tanit Reishmael. The pasuk said, Neder almana or grusha, that the neder, the vow of the almana, of a widow, grusha, and a divorcee, and Kabbalah continues, whatever she makes forbidden to herself via this neder, Yakum Aleha, it's binding upon her. So what is this pasuk coming to teach us? What exactly is it telling me regarding the nedarim of this almana or grusha? Says the Gemara, 1 second. Once this woman has been married, and then she became an almana or grusha, meaning her husband died, or her husband divorced her, but she was already in her life, so she already left her father's household, and she leaves her. So she's sort of floating between the two. Ella. So what else could be referring to? So says the Gemara, the part case, the part to a regular almana or grusha. It's referring to someone that's been given over from the father's agents to the husband's agents, or to the messengers of the husband, and then on the road her future husband unfortunately is nifter, or this future husband decides he divorces her. Hey, what base of somewhere in the middle, she left the father's household, she didn't make it to the husband, the husband died or divorced her. So what? You know what it's teaching me? Once she leaves for one moment from the father's possession, once she leaves the father's possession for one moment, she's done. She's never going to be considered again the father's power, and he can no longer be made for her nedarim anymore. So this woman who's floating in between is going to be considered of the husband. And continuing the Gemara, or I should say concluding the Gemara, the din that we learned yesterday, that once she's brought to the husband's household, and again let's remember, they didn't do a chuppah yet, they didn't really consummate the marriage yet, but the chiddush that we're learning is once she's being delivered, being set possession, she has a din, she has a law, as if she's part of the husband's household already. So Amar Abba hones it, this din that we saw, he says, I learned in the Mishnah as well. Someone is born with a naira Einoi chayiv is not obligated. Ashatei naira urasa. Said only time one is obligated, as we'll see, referring to chanek, when it's obligated, the strongest death penalty is only if she is considered a naira, a virgin, never had relations, mu'urasa, that was in her father's household, which of course is a little bit contradictory. What is she? Is she in the father's household? Is she married yet? So explains the Gemara. She's a naira. It means she's between the age of 12 and 12 and a half. She's not yet a Bagares. She did not reach the age of 12 and a half. What does that mean? She never relations yet. So what does that mean? Make the marriage, she didn't have nesuin. So what? It said that she's in her father's household. What? Papa must have the shluchei abal. The one she's merely given over. She gets the status as being married, even before the chuppah and before the nesuin. Once she's given over to the shluchei of the Baal, once she's given over to the messengers of the husband, that a mere giving over is enough that she's now considered possession of the husband, and henceforth she will get chenek. And I learned the same thing. Someone who is a married woman, to the husband's possession for nesuin, even though they were not boil yet, she did not sleep with her new husband yet. She did not still raise a bechanek. If they are together, that man is obligated bechanek. So what do we see over here? The mere entering into the possession of the husband, even without a full chuppah, without a full consummation of the marriage, still obligates one who is mizana with this woman as chanek. Say, a father is not obligated to support his daughter. We'll see this is a din da'araisa, that while the father has a daughter, while the father is alive, he's not obligated to support her. Zem midrash darish of Lozben Azariah, the vineyards of Yavne, that sons, that it says in the Kesuba that the sons inherit the money of the Kesuba, and the daughters are sustained from the husband's properties. So what is only after nifter, so to the daughters in so to the daughters is no longer. So we're learning a din over here, the highest level on the biblical level. The father is not obligated to provide sustenance for his daughter. Say, of course, wondering, as the Gemara now is going to explain, that the case of the Mishnah was b'mizoynais b'itoy, the daughter. So says the Gemara, the clear implication of the Mishnah is that the mizoynais of the daughter, specifically, that the father is not obligated in. But the sustenance of the son, to give food to the son, it sounds like one is obligated. Explains the Gemara that what it means when the Mishnah said that you don't have to support the daughter. Explains the Gemara, it just means there is no ha-mitzvah ika, but there is a mitzvah. So there's a mitzvah, there's a positive commandment to provide for one's daughter, but there is no chiyuv obligation. So based off of that which we just said, asks the Gemara, Mani Masnisen, who is the Tan of our Mishnah? Classical Gemara sense, we iron out what is the din of the Mishnah, and now that we know what the din of the Mishnah is teaching us, now we want to find out, so who's the Tana? Who's the source? Says the Gemara, it seemingly is none of the following three opinions. The Tanya we learned in a brayso, and of course each detail here is important, as we'll see that each detail is slightly from the Mishnah, and that's why at face value the Mishnah sounds like it's like neither of these three opinions. The Tanya we learned in a brayso, it's a mitzvah, it's a positive commandment to support the daughters, certainly the sons. Why? Why is it a kal v'chaimer? Why is there any more of a reason to support a son over a daughter? To learn Torah, Talmud Torah. So we see clearly Rameir is equating sons and daughters. They both have the same level of mitzvah, which of course everyone realizes does not work with the Mishnah, as the Mishnah clearly seemed to differentiate something between sons and daughters. Rav Yehuda Omer mitzvah lazan es abonim kal v'chaimer. Opposite, you have a mitzvah for sons, certainly the daughters. Why? Misham zilusa, says Rav Yehuda. It's degrading for a girl to go beg food at people's doorposts. Again, Rav Yehuda is the opposite of Rav Meir, but he has what? On the same place. There's a chiyuv to feed the daughters after the father dies. You do not have to support neither the sons nor daughters. Again, clearly not like the Mishnah. The Mishnah said that there is some level of obligation or mitzvah to some of them. So we have three opinions, all of them seemingly at odds with the Mishnah. So says the Gemara, which is a mitzvah. Rameir said it's a mitzvah for the sons, whereas and the Gemara did not see that there's any mitzvah for the son. The Gemara seemed to imply that the Mishnah is only teaching us it's a mitzvah for the daughter. The same issue. We're 8 lines from the bottom of the Amid. He says no mitzvah for anyone. So explains the Gemara. We can explain the Mishnah that it can follow opinions. 3 lines from the bottom. If you like, and this is how you learn the Mishnah. There's no obligation for the daughter, and Rameir learns not to let off being differentiating between the sons and daughters. The same din that there's no chiyuv applies simultaneous to sons. So the mitzvah says Rameir for the daughter. So if Rameir is no difference between sons and daughters in the din of the Mishnah, so why did the Mishnah hone in specifically on the daughter? Hakamash Malan, it teaches us a chiddush. To Memtaz Amid Beis. Hakamash Malan, what's the chiddush? Says Rameir. The chiddush is that the daughter is but ha-mitzvah. So it says not to exclude the son. The son is it only said the daughter because it's a bigger chiddush. There's a bigger chiddush of the daughter that there is no. We can say similarly the Mishnah is like Rav Yehuda Kamar. A father is not obligated to support his daughter. Certainly not the son. But there is a mitzvah on the son. So why did the Mishnah say daughter? It's teaching me the chiddush that there's no chiyah for the daughter. And finally, there's no obligation to support the daughter. To the son, there's no obligation. There's not even a mitzvah. And since the daughter after the father dies, then there's so therefore the Mishnah learned that there is no chiyuv, but after he dies, then there indeed is. So says the Gemara. We began saying that there's a Mishnah cannot concur with any of the three opinions, and the Gemara concludes then in reality it could be the three opinions. We're going to learn that this din in the Mishnah was on the biblical, was on the Daraisa level. Says the Gemara, Reish Lakish Mimzrim Rav Yehuda Bar Chanina comes like Rav Usha Eskina in Usha they made she there's no Isa, but the Rabbanan came along and said, we're making a takana, you are sons and your daughters kishahin ketanim when they are young. And of course, in the Aleph, this is indeed the Gemara. But this is indeed the halacha that's brought down in Aved Ezer Siman Ayin Aleph, and the other halacha that one is actually done to provide for his children. Says the Gemara, Yibayiluhu. Now asks the Gemara, do we paskin like this Rav Illa? Tashema says the Gemara, we're going to bring a raya, and this raya that we're going to bring is going to be magnified threefold. It's going to be the same raya repeated three times. When they came from Rav Yehuda, Amar Lahu said Rav Yehuda, V'abnei Masa Shadia, says Rav Yehuda, the Yaroid, that's an animal, a jackal, gives birth, and he throws it upon the town. This is what Rav Yehuda would say when someone is not supporting their children. He would mock them and make fun of them, and he would say, and you don't want to. So what's the raya? So the raya explains is that we see this. You see, and we're just going to highlight in the second narrow line. We see there's no. You can embarrass a person. You can get him. He's no greater than an animal. But is there an absolute chiyuv? If there was an absolute chiyuv, the money against his will, from the fact that we see that we're not doing that, but rather we're just getting up. Cruel shows us we do not. Similarly, 15 lines down, the first one line is also when they came from Rav Chisda, Amar Lahu Kavale Asita B'Tzibura. Rav Chisda said a similar line. He said, turn over a mortar in public. Basically, get on your soapbox and announce, Urva, the raven wants its children. The guy doesn't. Again, greater than a raven. So ask the Gemara parenthetically, is it true that a raven likes its kids? That to the children of the raven that they call out, seemingly showing us the ravens do not take care of their children and they have to call out. When the ravens are white, then recognize them and they don't necessarily take care of them. But when they turn black, the parents recognize them and then the parents again take care of them. Again, a second raya. That's like Ravilla. There's not a proper takana that we could go and take away money from this guy because he's not supporting his kids. But that's him in public. And finally, a third raya. Give us the Rava. What did Rava say? Amar lei nichlacha. To you, do you want your children to be fed? Again, we see that we're not going to take away money against his will. We're going to embarrass him in public. So seemingly, for the Dina to Gemara, we are not paskening like Rav Illa. And says the Gemara on this halach that we just said, we do not pasken like Rav Illa is not. Deloy amid, and here's the line. It's only if the person is not wealthy, if the person is not of means to actually support his children. However, but if he has the means, we do indeed force him to take care of his children. And it explains the Gemara, force of Nasa Barami, and took from him Dalad Me'azuzi L'Tzedakah, and took out of him 400 zuz for tzedakah in order to take care of his children. And that do we pass it like Rav Illa? Yes and no. No, but if the person is wealthy, then we do indeed pass it like Amar Rav Illa, Amar Reish Lakish. Once we learn one takana of Rav Illa, we bring down a second. But Usha Askinu and Usha, they made a takana. If someone writes over all his properties to his sons, even though he gives away all his properties, to his children, while he and his wife are alive, he is providing those properties. Asks Rav Zeira and some say Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani, you're telling me Allah, you're telling me that we support a husband and wife from his own estate if he gives it away to his children. But they asked that we learned more. We learned in a brisa. Even after her husband dies, the estate that's given to his children, she still gets supported from it. Excuse me, if an almana gets supported, certainly he and his wife will. So what over here that he and his wife get supported, that's pashit. If even an almana after he dies gets supported, certainly he and his wife. We see this from the Shalach. Ravin Bigarta. Ravin sent in 11. Misha Meis Vinicha Almana Uba. Someone died and left over a wife and daughter. Chasav. The wife gets supported. Nisa gets married. Amanas and Nizad Min Chasav. His ex-wife still gets supported. Mesa Abbas. Let's see the daughter. New son-in-law inherits the father. Still he says, by me, there was Amru, and they said even after he dies, Almanas and Nizad Min Chasav. Almanas and Nizad Min Chasav. Are you telling me it's pashit? If even the almana, even after he dies, even after the daughter dies, the almana gets. Certainly the wife would get. So explains the Gemara, Amaru Detema, I would have thought, Hasamu Teleka de Tarach. Maybe over there, the reason why he gets supported after he dies, the reason is because there's no one to be matriach for him. There's no one to provide for the wife and daughter. So maybe that is the reason why they get. But in our case, with a husband, where the father is still alive, maybe we say, listen, you wrote away all your properties to your children. So you need food. Your wife needs food. So go out and get a job for them. Kamash Malon. So that's the chiddush. That even though you would think they would still be able to get it, still the chiddush is you get supported from those properties. And we conclude with one final shayla. Says the Gemara, 5 lines on the bottom. Do we paskin like Rav Elo, like the second takana? Do we paskin that indeed the wife and the husband get supported from the estate even after he writes it away? Where in front, also who gave a person came, he bent down and he kissed Rav Yonasan on his foot. Amar Rachnina, my eye, what are you doing? Kissing Rav Yonasan's feet? Amar Rav Yonasan. The reason is because this man wrote over all his nechasim to his children, turning over to tomorrow's daf Nunam and Aleph, Vaistinu Lizane, and still I forced them to feed him. Even though he wrote away all his possessions, I forced the kids to feed him from those possessions. If you're going to tell me we do not paskin like Rav Elo, now it makes a lot of sense that they were forced to make the children support them from that estate, because that's not really the halacha, but he forced them to do it, and that's why he's kissing him. What do you have to force him? So we see clearly again, like the second takana, we do not paskin like the second takana Rav Elo either. And tomorrow we'll pick up from the third takana that Rav Elo is going to say over that they were misakin in Usha.